What is up, everyone? Rare here, and welcome to Lawbreakers, a game that is currently in closed beta. And the first thing that I gotta say right now is, if you can get your hands on a closed beta key for Lawbreakers, I highly recommend checking out the game for a couple of matches to see whether or not you enjoy the game for yourself. Because for me personally, I've been having a lot of fun with Lawbreakers, and I would highly recommend it to anyone looking for another first-person shooter game to play. One thing I do want to mention though is the fact that this is not a friendly game. Okay, I would compare it more to Quake than any other first-person shooter game out there. And as a result, for any new players out there who manage to get their hands on a closed beta key, I do want to say you're not going to jump into the game and completely stomp people. In fact, you're probably going to get your ass stomped to the curb instead. It's not like Overwatch at all, which is apparently the other game that most people are comparing it to, because unlike Overwatch, which is easy for people to get into and actually start playing, Lawbreakers has a steep learning curve, and at the current moment there is no tutorial. There are videos that you can watch, but for the main part you actually have to play the game and learn for yourself. Another fact that I want to throw in there for people who are not scared off by the steep learning curve is the fact that Lawbreakers is not going to be free to play. And I feel like I have to throw this in here simply because Lawbreakers apparently is already getting a bad reputation because of Nexon being its publisher. But yeah, Lawbreakers is not going to be free to play, and as a result, pay to win is not going to be an element here. The developers themselves have stated that the game is not going to sell at $60. We don't know what the price is going to be. We don't know when it's going to release. All we know is that once you buy the game, pretty much all of the characters from then on and all of the maps that they release in the future are going to be free. I'm assuming that the game is probably going to cost around $15 to $20, maybe even $30, although in my personal opinion that's kind of pushing it. But from what I played so far, this is a really fun game, and honestly, for the people who are looking for a competitive first-person shooter game, something that relies a lot on skill, a lot on your ability to move around the map, that kind of stuff, and also harkens back to the golden days of Quake and Doom, Lawbreakers is actually a pretty good replacement. I'm not gonna lie, it's really freaking close to that representation with a new twist, and that is the gravity mechanic, which to be honest is what makes the entire game. If this mechanic wasn't here, if the gravity mechanic was not in Lawbreakers, I would have thrown this game away as your typical class-based shooter alongside with Overwatch, Paladins, and Team Fortress 2. Not that that's a bad thing, but I was still looking for something a little more, you know, something special, something not that everybody has done before. And that low gravity mechanic changes everything. It adds so much more verticality to this first-person shooter game. The fact that you have to learn to move in low gravity, the fact you have to learn how to gain momentum in low gravity, because the last thing that you want to be doing is floating around while everybody is shooting at you. And honestly, it's just fun to fly around. I feel like a lot of first-person shooter games nowadays are trying to add more verticality to their games, such as Call of Duty, Titanfall 2, etc. You know, they're trying to add these abilities where you can climb on walls, you can jetpack, and from what I've seen so far, this low gravity thing for Lawbreakers is what makes the cake, because it essentially turns the game, the entire map rather, into a battlefield. You're not just stuck on the ground anymore, you're fighting in the air as well. And it makes certain characters that would be really good on the ground suck in low gravity, while other characters really good in low gravity but suck when they're on the ground, and you have to keep that in mind. Not to mention, there is a lot of things that they can actually do with this low gravity idea. Imagine a game mode, a King of the Hill game mode, where you have to capture an objective that is moving around in low gravity. You basically have to know how to conserve your movement or move around in order to stay within the objective zone in order to capture objectives like that. And that is actually one of the major flaws that I'm currently seeing with Lawbreakers, is the fact that they have this low gravity thing, the thing that in my personal opinion is what's making the game really fun to play, but they're not using it too much. Most of the maps that I've played so far basically have this giant low gravity zone in the middle of the map, and then high gravity zones around it, or rather I should say regular gravity zones around it, where you're just basically walking on the ground like normal. And they haven't really done anything special, you know. Why not create gravity zones that are going to kill you? a high gravity, you get crushed under high gravity, or gravity is too low, you get sent flying into the sky, etc., or flying to the side, or just stuff that doesn't work properly. I don't know why they're not doing that. They have characters that have abilities to control gravity to a certain extent, sort of like Vanguard, who has his ultimate to create a low gravity zone when she ults, or Juggernaut, who's able to staple himself to the ground and create a stable shooting platform, or the Assassin, who has this gravity grenade, which basically turns on low gravity for projectiles, so when you shoot through it, the projectiles go into space. But besides that, there really isn't anything else here. It feels like they're not taking advantage of the thing that's making their game so fun to play. And I really hope to see more in the future for Lawbreakers regarding that particular aspect. And yeah, that's pretty much about it. As I said before, if you can get your hands on the closed beta key, I highly recommend checking out Lawbreakers for yourself. Don't be scared of the steep learning curve. I might have made it sound a little bit too formidable. It's not that hard to pick up. Okay, it's definitely not like Tribes Ascend where it's it's just like crazy learning curve where you have to learn how to gain momentum and learn how to lead your shots and projectiles, etc. That kind of stuff. It's not that hard. Okay, honestly, if you picked up any first-person shooter game before in the past, you'll probably be able to pick up Lawbreakers after a few tweaks to your mindset. And that's pretty much about it. Honestly, this, as I said before, this is a game that you have to play for yourself to see whether or not you enjoy it. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Peace out, and as always, remember to be considerate and exit through the back door. Bye!